Well, it was interesting when I developed this SAM acronym. When I started thinking about this idea of congruency and my reading material. Two-thirds of my books went into boxes. I realized that if I chose an idea, if I chose a core path for myself as I want to move forward, and things that it's what are the core values that I am trying to live through, and the word trying, right? Because that's just the operative process. There's no enlightenment here. I'm still like everyone else. I'm kind of bumbling my way through life, but I know what my values feel like. I know what they're for, and I know what I'm trying to live up to, and that's kind of my North Star. And so it's a feeling. And so let's say, for example, the 3 to 4 core values that I try to employ on a daily basis would be, let's say, trust and truth and courage and compassion. And that'd be, let's say, those are my core strengths. Now, core strengths take work. It's not like if you stop training them, they just go away. So it's not something that you just take for granted, saying, well, this is what I believe. It's not that easy. It's actually physical. It's labor. It's actually a lot of work to make these things happen. But I know what these values, I know what they stand for. I know what they feel like. And I know where in my history that they actually did exist. And I know what role models emulate those kind of behaviors. So it's very, very specific. And then when I look to my life and I look at my physical health, I look at through the lens of these 4 pieces. Now, I was having the conversation when I take somebody through the IAM project. We take everything into their head and we dump it onto a board. It's like a timeline board. Their whole life, their entire episodic memory is now in front of them to see, which is really interesting because the problem with thinking is that as soon as you adopt a thought, if I ask you a question and you start thinking about something, well, you actually go to a very specific part of your mind, which you're not actually choosing. It's a little bit more random, and it's the pattern of the way you would think anyhow. So the brain would select this pathway, kind of unbeknownst to you, and come up with an idea. And so that if I ask you, what are your thoughts around lacrosse? And your brain's trying to think about lacrosse, and so you have a pre-existing biased idea towards what you think that means based on your experience and how you felt about it. Whereas if I put it on the board, you get to see everything. There's no isolation of thought. All of it's there. So I was asking, when I ask people about their physical health, saying, well, what does wellness mean to you? Well, and so you see them, they go inside their mind, right? And you see them looking for information. Well, I'd like to lose a bit of this belly fat, and I want to feel stronger. And so they go through this whole description. So, okay, that's perfect. Okay, so you write all that stuff down. So now I want you to look at the board here. And on the board, there's the I am in the middle of the board. So before we actually talk about your wellness again, I want to ask you, who do you need to become to have the life that you want? What are the values that are most important to you? And it's actually interesting because quite often people go, they got nothing, and they try to, but they haven't really thought about it a lot, right? What do you believe? Well, and it's not a big discussion for people, and that's the only thing I talk about. If people know me, it's you don't get hockey out of me, you don't get baseball, you don't even get Donald Trump, right? This is what you get, because that's what I'm just so fascinated by.
You know what, though? I just on those 2 very quick points. One, I think it's brilliant what you're saying, because with Plato, when he would say, like, if I say horse and I tell you a horse, you might think of a brown horse, and I might think of a white horse, and someone else a small horse and a big horse. So what gives the horse its hoarseness, right? So it's an archetypal thing. So what is wellness, and what is to one person can mean something else. So I think, again, by you getting the definition clear, clarity, right? Clarity, and then how could you know where you're going if one, you don't know where you are, and you haven't named it, right? So you're saying, like, you want to go to a city, but you're not sure if it's Paris, New York, you have no idea. So, but I want to go to a city, David, I want to go to a city, take me there. You're like, but which city? I don't know, I haven't thought of it. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, it's so interesting, but every single time when I ask somebody, what do they want, whether it's money or relationships, and I ask them there's 2 different vantage points. One, go inside your head and then answer the question. Secondly, drop into your core values first, look at the board, and then answer the question. Always 2 different things. always. Because through the lens of their values, if you set this up properly, through the lens of the values, they'll see something different. So my wellness inside my head, it's the, let's say the 21-year-old who still wants to look sexy in a bikini, but you're 47. Doesn't mean that you can't look sexy in a bikini, but it's the immaturity of the 21-year-old who answered the statement. Because when you reflect back to, I was, I didn't have children. I was much prettier. I didn't have this, this perimenopausal weight, or these, I didn't have all the stuff going on. And so I reflect back to when I was the most youthful and most beautiful, perhaps. And so they draw that image forward, but they don't know they're doing it. It's just the brain just does it for them in like a nanosecond. And so when I look at the board saying, well, if you sit into your values first, so turn on your core values, right? Like your core strength, before you actually try to flex that muscle. Turn on your core values. What's it feeling? Okay, inside those values, there may be maturity and grace and gratitude are your core values. You're sitting in these really beautiful values. So now I'm going to ask you about wellness. I'm going to ask you that question again, but through the lens of your values. What does wellness mean to you? And all of a sudden, just in a dramatically different, beautiful, mature, and generally more of a spiritual, kind of far-reaching meaning, and it's really profound. And the contrast in minutes apart from each other. One is you're just asking the brain randomly what it would like. The brain's going, yeah, I want 4 of those, 2 of those. Like asking the 5-year-old what he wants for Christmas. He wants it all, right? But then you stabilize somebody. You drop them into their core values. You anchor them, and say, now what do you want? And it's beautiful. It's actually very different.
Yeah, that's super cool. Again, it's amazing how you've taken that strength of physical training and been able to associate that to mental training at that high level. That's awesome. I want to ask you right now though, for people like myself and the listeners, so many people, how can they get involved? How can they reach you? How can they get involved with the IM project?
Well, it's the website is obviously www. theimproject.com, and of course I'm all over social media, so I spend a lot of time talking about this stuff. But it's it's not a personal development tool. The idea being it's a scaffolding that goes underneath your personal development. It's just like in core strength. I don't have to make you a greater martial artist. I just have to stabilize you. I don't have to tell you what to do in your life. You know what to do. And the whole presupposition the IM project was built on was that we know what we ought to be doing, but somehow we can't get there, and we don't know why. And all the misery in our life lives in the contrast between knowing better and doing better. Mm. And that's all it is. Saying, listen, I'm not telling you what to do. Like in fact, I don't even know anybody's secrets. I don't know of anybody's traumas, even though we worked through all of it. I don't need to know your history. It's not important. What I need, all we need to know is who are you, what do you stand for, and what does that feel like? Yeah. If we use the same SAM acronym, stabilize yourself first before you make a decision or even buy a book, activate those powerful emotions, and then move forward in the decision-making process, but only from there. And that way, no matter where you are, there you are.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. So listen, let's say for myself, okay, I want in. It sounds amazing. I completely understand it. I studied all these different things. It's fantastic. Now, what does that require? Is that can you do that on like online over Zoom, or is it like some videos?
Well, it's in 2 parts. I set the program up so there's 9 modules online. So when people come to the program, they get an IM board, get shipped out to them, and a series of tokens, and they do all the work out of their head in front of them. So it's a timeline board that we get to work with. So all your episodic memory is on the board in front of you. And then when we set it up, there's some people I work privately. So I have actually Australia. I do a lot of work with this program. Funny enough, they're very open to this process. So, but there's people I work with individually, but you can also do self-paced, right? So you can go through, and then the manuals on, so other than me delivering the board to you, the manuals online, and there's different levels of the program. So. And different price points. If somebody wants to, pay the whole program up front, I'll spend 4 hours with them over the course of a period of a couple of weeks, really getting them set up for it. So different price points obviously offers you different levels of access to myself, but the program can be all self-directed. And then we have a mastermind community that if you have questions, that you can go to the mastermind community, and then you can ask for help and say, okay, I did this one. I'm not really clear on how this works, and I'm a little bit stuck here. But the most important thing to remember, it's not psychotherapy. It's not counseling. It's not what it's designed for. It's really designed to say, listen, you're way more powerful than you ever could believe. You're way more powerful than that the world is leading you to believe. And we're not here to talk about your problems. We're here to talk about your strengths. And the more you talk about your strengths, you actually rise above your problems. And then what you thought was terrifying and life shattering now becomes insignificant because you've grown to be something so much more powerful than all of that.
Yeah, that sounds super amazing. So, look, what I will do absolutely is, like, in the description, I'll put all the links, the websites, everything to reach you. But I mean, it sounds absolutely. You explained it so very, very well, and it sounds like it sounds just absolutely amazing. I get it. I get everything, if the explanation and what it's based on and why it would work. And I'm like, yeah, I'm excited. 100%. That's great. I want to say thank you for that, for doing that and developing, because I always think of intention, right? What's the intention? Obviously, it's a series of very positive intentions that led you to, to helping people. I think it's a fantastic use of your time and like we were talking about before, and to develop something like that. So I want to say, first of all, thank you. That's amazing. I do look forward to it. It sounds just great. And I wanted to ask you, and we're like going over a little over time here. One, you and I could talk. I have so many things that I've stopped myself from asking or from commenting. Understanding not just NLP, but neurologically, and understanding the science behind it, and putting that all together, those pieces together.
Well, again, Einstein said, if you can't explain a difficult thing simply, you don't understand it.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I'm a math. Like, I know like 10,000 quotes. Like every quote that anyone's ever told me, like, yeah, like it's and that is, and you know what? It's just little things to help me, like you said, guide. It's just to put me when I think about it. Oh, what would that do for my mentality? But yeah, there's so many. I mean, we could go on and on. There's so many amazing things. I've written all kinds of notes here, but look, what I'll do is just say, let's stop for now. I want to say thank you so much for your time. The I Am project sounds amazing. I'm sure the listener is going to be super intrigued. So we'll have all those. What do you prefer to be reached on? Is Facebook your preferred method to reach on, or Instagram?
Yeah, well, Facebook seems to be. It's where I spend a lot of my time. So yeah, it's an easy spot to find me. Yeah, you'll generally find me there on some level, either talking about the physical or the psychological. So Facebook's a great medium for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So www.theimproject.com.
Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. So with that, is there any last things that you wanted to say, David, to the listener?
In this time and place in history, it has seemed to be more confusing than ever. And all I know for sure is that if you just simply stop the incoming information, if you find yourself really reeling and stressful and you're having a hard time navigating, stop the incoming information and decide who do you need to be to survive in this world going forward. Who do you need to be? And what would that feel like? And the chances are that everything that you've been needing has always been inside of you. But you have to kind of dampen the noise down so that you realize that you're way, way more powerful than you ever thought. But again, you can't have 20,000 conflicting thoughts running at the same time. You can't have the Price is Right audience in the back of your brain as your conscience. Quiet the noise and realizing that, again, pick 2 or 3 values, pick 2 or 3 character strengths. Saying, I will invest every day of my life, the moments of the morning, to practice the art of being these 3 things only. And those 3 things will actually open up the world to you.
Amazing. Very well said.
Right.
Thanks, David. Okay, man. So with that, I'll wish you a successful and peaceful mind and a wonderful day. And thanks so much again for sharing all your wisdom with me.